everybody needs good accounting. I have friends, they prefer not to look at their bank statements because they get bored or scared or whatever, and they just don't do financially as well. It is possible to spend more money than we earn. I know, but theoretically that seems to be possible. I know people who do it. And then just eventually, if we don't have enough assets, it leads to bankruptcy. And the same is true with ecological resources overall, or the planet's limited ability to renew. If we overuse that, then there are consequences. The biggest overuse currently overall, if we look at it in terms of how much Earth can renew compared to what we draw on it, the biggest service we draw on is CO2 sequestration. There's not enough capacity for that on the planet. That's why we've got accumulation of CO2 in the atmosphere. And as a consequence, the remaining carbon budget is very, very small. So we can either choose to stay within the limits and maintain the integrity of the biosphere, stay within the safe operating space, as planetary boundaries call it, or we can choose not to, and then we may have the short-term benefits of fossil fuel use, but the long-term consequences of a compromised integrity of the biosphere, meaning less productivity, more difficulties to predict food production, to even have high food production, to have all the amenities that the planet provides. It's not the end of life, but it's not the same quantity that we'll be able to depend on. So understanding bank statements, both financially as well as biophysically, we believe is helpful. It's not whether you just participate in a green meeting and say, oh, we follow one of the 169 SDG goals, therefore we are great. Who cares? In the end, it's really about understanding, is your deep business case, is your essence of being, is that aligned with what is needed in the world? Because if so, it's not a moral question. It's just that this alignment shows opportunity. The choice is quite simple. You can say, what do you want? One planet prosperity or one planet misery? Choose, not so difficult to choose, because one planet just signals, I recognize there's a physical reality. I recognize I breathe in, I breathe out. I recognize I drink, I eat, I need energy. So given there's one planet, how do we organize ourselves for success? I was struck by the following tautology of saying, what people cannot imagine. Seems pretty silly, but it's actually, I realize, what's limiting us largely, and including me, people say, so how would this world look like? And we cannot imagine. Let's reinvest in infrastructure, let's rebuild the decaying infrastructure. And so Time Magazine, which is not a mouthpiece of the White House, they did a whole magazine on that topic, and they had a beautiful cover sheet to their magazine. And what was on that magazine? 1950s on steroids. More airplanes, more ports, more highways, more power plants, more everything of the old stuff. At a time where you say, wow, this would be the moment to totally reimagine what is necessary for the future to be successful, which means recognizing that we need to work on a solar-based economy. And nobody can imagine that. That struck me. That's kind of the realization, wow, people cannot imagine what they cannot imagine. And so I think we need to pay much more attention generally. Anybody who kind of wants to help to build a different future, I'm saying help others imagine it and embody it themselves and get inspired, get awestruck by what's possible and what that could be and how it could look like, and fall in love with that possibility. It's their job to think about the business case, and I think much more than say, oh, let's make our current products efficient, and to say, what kind of products will we need in the future? Where do we need to be? And is it possible that the products that we need in the future actually are those products that are needed in the future? Another tautology, and if that's so, if that tautology happens to be true, what does that mean for your business case, and how do you need to drive your innovation? What are the opportunities there? And that's quite exciting. I think you many engineer types and other types as well would thrive on these premises.